Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Shop Talk, hosted by the Triangle Area SQL Server Users Group. So we have with us tonight Mala. How you doing, Mala?
Good evening, everyone.
And we have Mike Christensen. Mike, how are things?
Very well, thanks. Great to see everybody.
Good, good. We would have Tracy in the box over in that corner, except it's Tracy's birthday, so everyone go say happy birthday to Tracy. Or at least her birthday is in this general vicinity. I'm not going to give away exact dates, but Anders says it is May. So Anders is right. There has not been a time loop that has taken us into another month altogether. And we're not using the French calendar, so it's not Thermidor.
I heard that you share your birthday with about 86 to 90 million other people. It's only 365 days, right?
Yeah. Sometimes there's a 366th day. But Thermidor is actually in July. I'm sorry. It's actually Floreal, apparently. So happy Floreal to people who are celebrating the French calendar.
Merci. Oui.
I tried to put maximum scorn on the French calendar. I don't understand why it has 12 months instead of 10. I thought the metric calendar would have 10 months, but they apparently failed, which is probably why a lot of them ended up getting their heads chopped off. All right. Re-railing time. Welcome to Shop Talk, everybody. Shop Talk, where we scream about things that happened in the late 1700s. So somehow we ended up on CNN. All right. What do we do here on Shop
That's
Talk?
funny because I was reading about George Washington and his farewell address the other day.
It does happen. So what we do on Shop Talk is technical questions, technical answers. Sometimes we have those. Sometimes we have answers. Often we'll have questions. Sometimes chat asks questions. Most of the time, chat just serves to derail us, and we're okay with that. We like to think of less as a train and more like a three-dimensional movement. So, when you're off that rail and you're flying, if only for a little while, you've escaped the bounds of reality. And that's kind of what we do here. So, yes, Anders whistling past the graveyard. All right. So, happy birthday to Tracy. Also, Mala is just about to graduate from a program and get a master's degree.
Hello, everyone. Thank you.
Which is keeping her busy right now, but very cool. It is very cool, yes. You want to talk a little bit about that, Mala?
Sure. Let me start with my style of learning. First is that I like to learn the academic way. So I read a lot of the cert books, even though I don't take the cert. I like the way it is structured, the Q&A style. A certain structured way of learning works well for me. Um, I stopped paying Microsoft to take those certifications because I don't think they're worth it. But I do buy the textbooks and I do read them because I like to learn that way. So when we were at the peak of the COVID crisis, I had a lot of personal stuff going on. Basically, I like to focus to get my mind off some of that stuff. I know that's not everybody's thing, but it's my thing. Uh, Something other than work. So I was looking for a master's program to do, and even before this, I've tried for other master's programs. I ran into two problems. Number one, I don't have a bachelor's from this country, which is extremely hard to evaluate. My bachelor's is from 30 years ago from India. It is not automated. It's not on any computer. It's manual handwritten transcripts. So for them to get copies of that and evaluate it course by course and such is going to take forever, even assuming it's possible. Uh, so that made it very hard. Second is how much it costs. And data science and data analytics programs, I've discussed a few with Kevin too. They are like a second mortgage. They are extremely expensive. And I'm old for that. I don't know if I want to drop that much of money on any program, even if the content is extremely appealing. So for those two reasons, I didn't do anything. And in the peak of COVID, a few schools came up with some interesting programs. I've been told I'm good at communication. I don't know how relevant that is, but that was something that stuck with me. Some people, like Brent Ozar, was one of the people who told me that. So I looked into some programs that were communication related, and I came up with one that the University of Delaware was offering that had to do with corporate communication and some skills that I have no clue of. I don't know anything about how HR or PR related stuff operates, or how do you get a product out to sell on the market and make a plan around that and all of that. I don't know. I don't have any clue of how that works. So I decided to take it. It was in my budget. It was only 18 months or so long, not very expensive, and it needed only about 3 to 4 hours a week. It's not going to mess up with my work schedule. All of that put together seemed like a good option at that time, and I took it. I was glad I took it, although it is more expensive than what most people would consider. Most people would consider spending on a degree just for the sake of a whim, if you want to look at it that way. But I've enjoyed the experience thoroughly. The faculty has been really, really nice, extremely friendly. I found my tech experience and tech knowledge was useful in more than one ways. For that, I mean, there were two data analytics courses. Where I had to do a visualization and I had to do some other SQL kind of stuff. So it wasn't like totally diverse from what I was doing, although it wasn't a straight overlap of anything. Anyway, I come to the end of it now this week. This week is the last my presentation, thesis presentation, where I'm working with a Swedish company, a software company that's having some challenges launching their product, and I had to come up with a plan on how to make that work. Whether or not that company is going to like what I did, I don't know. But that's what I'm going to present, and I'm going to be done this week. And going forward, if I want to try for any of the analytics programs or data science programs, and for those who are interested, there are a ton of online programs available now post COVID. Lots and lots and lots of them. So if you want more information, feel free to reach out to me, because I've done a ton of research and I know how much they cost, which school charges how much of your time it's going to take, all of that. More choices available, and I have a master's that is easier to evaluate. So that's it.
Excellent. Well, hey,
Congratulations.
early congratulations.
Thank you.
Anders mentions never work with Swedes, and I think that makes a lot of sense for a Norwegian guy
I
to
must
say.
reach out to him for why.
Aren't Norwegians, Swedes, and Finnish
Them's
folks
fighting
friends?
words.
Or
Them's fighting words.
all right.
Next up, you'll be calling Anders Swedish. Corporate communication.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't say that. I know he's Norwegian.
He's American. Anders is American. American Swedes don't count. Okay, that's fair. Wisconsinites. Wisconsinites are basically Norwegian. All right. Also, there are websites out there dedicated to printing diplomas. Yeah, Anders is an American. I don't know what you're getting these ideas from. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about. I'm going to give you folks a sneak preview. A sneak preview, something you never get. What are we going to sneak
SQL
preview?
Server
We're going to
20.
sneak preview T-SQL Tuesday. T-SQL Tuesday. By the way, if you've never heard of it, this is a caravan
Oh,
of...
you're watching, Kevin. Oh, how nice.
Yeah, it's a
What's the
carnival of blog
topic?
post. So I am hosting for the first time, maybe the last time. We'll see how it goes. Hosting T-SQL Tuesday, and the question tomorrow that's going to come out is your favorite job interview question. And I'm not going to go through my post. I'm not even going to go through all of the job interview questions. I will point out, I'm looking forward to hearing what people have. I'm going to go down to the interviewee section, because you can see there's a lot I've got in here. The interviewer stuff I like a lot. Interviewee, we'll talk about that, because this is something I think a lot of people forget about when they go to job interviews, is that they're interviewing you, but you're interviewing them. sort of like Rorschach in that way. You're not. I'm not stuck in the room with you. You're stuck in the room with me. And when I'm giving the interview, of course I've got questions. Of course I would like to get answers. But when I'm the interviewee, when I'm the candidate for a job, I should also have questions, and they shouldn't just be suck up questions or how much rah rah would you like me to give because I can give maximum rah rah. Nothing like that. No, because you want to know, is this a good fit for you as much as are you a good fit for them? And so for me, one of the most important things is basically it's time commitments. So I'm very clear on, all right, what do you expect in terms of hours per week? I have gone to things like, I went to one company one time and I asked them about that. And they're like, well, we're trying to get it down to 50 hours a week. Okay, where is it at right now? I mean, right now it's like 60 hours, 70 hours. But, when we hire that second DBA, then we think we can get it down to about 50 hours per week plus on call. At which point I already said, I know that the job is paying $30,000 a year more than what I'm making right now. I'm not interested in this job because we're promising in the future things will be better. Means right now things are bad, and the future may or may not happen. It turns out that a lot of job interviewers tend to be very optimistic about changes that will happen. That just around the corner it'll get a lot better. And often it does not. So I have two questions here specifically around how much are you working me? Or how much are you expecting to work me? How much are you working your current employees? When's the last time there was overtime and why? I want to know that there's a specific reason. I think overtime is okay if there's a clear reason, if it's justifiable. We had a one-time emergency. Our data center exploded. All right, well, and we had to rebuild all the servers. Okay, stuff happens. Or I'll give one example of a time
Cyber
when
attack.
What's that? Yeah, or a hack.
Cyber
Yeah,
attack.
exactly.
That happens here. Yeah.
One example where I ended up putting in a bunch of hours was our architect and I wanted to get something in place, and we had one sprint to do it. We only had that one sprint. We knew that if we tried to stretch it out over 2 sprints, it would get shut down. So we just plugged in all the hours. It was like 80, 90-hour weeks, and we got it done. We got it released. And then once it was out, they couldn't undo it as much as they wanted to. And on the whole, it was the better outcome. But what that did was I'm able to explain, first, just by the fact that I had to come up with an example that was several years old. Yeah, it doesn't happen that often. Second, that there was a justifiable reason. And third, that really it was voluntary. It wasn't, we just have mandatory overtime every week because we're 2 people short, and we just decided that instead of hiring 2 more people, we just push everybody else. Now, if overtime is paid one time and a half, that's a different story. At that point, I will tend to volunteer for overtime. Yeah, give me that overtime. When I worked for the state, it was time and a half, but they paid, so it was comp time, and then after 1 year, it would actually get paid out in salary. The department didn't have a budget for this, so they really didn't want to pay out in salary, which meant that, well, I got to spend 6 weeks in Germany because I worked like a dog. The best part was when comp time was expiring, I had to use comp time, but I was still busy, so I was working 40 hours in a week, but having to burn 5 hours of comp time, which meant that I had 45 hours on the payroll, which meant that I got 7.5 hours for burning 5 hours of comp time. I had a perpetual motion machine going for a short amount of time in terms of comp time. That was a beautiful stretch.
So I didn't want to say anything because it felt weird, but when I was in Morrisville recently, I was at Harris Teeter at night, and I saw you were a security guard with you were an armed security guard, and I was like, well, Kevin has a lot of hobbies. Like, that must be lucrative.
Yeah, I mean that was really just for the chance to walk around armed, but you know. All right,
He takes
Andrew's
security.
question. Right. Harris Teeter may not know that I'm a security guard, but
As long as they send the checks.
right. So Andrew's questions: what kind of car do you drive? Why, and why is it not a Corvette? They're fair questions. Tell me the last time you solved a problem. How did you go about doing it? That took me off guard. That's a good question as well. You know, as an interviewer, talking about that kind of a question, I like it. But third one, is there a budget for continuing education and training? Mala and I were talking about this before we went live. Hey, does your company actually value training up employees? Or is that just bloviation that, oh, we certainly value our employees, we just won't train them or help them get better in any way? And when I worked for the state of Ohio, I got like $3,500 a year of continuing education money. My current job, I think it's like $5,000 a year continuing education money. And yeah, will you accept my hiring contract to send me to Summit every year or its equivalent? Right, and that's a similar story. So not necessarily going to college, taking college courses, but can I go to a premier technical conference in my area? So a data engineering summit or a Live 360 or a past summit or something that is large enough that I'm going to get value out of it, even if that value is not necessarily immediately tangible to the company. Maybe especially if that value is not immediately tangible to the company. That's where you can tell, are they really invested, or is it just, well, we'll send it to you if you have some short-term gain from it. If there's an immediate tie-in with the company. And that's a little bit of a difference that I've seen at organizations. Sometimes companies are better about it, or sometimes they're worse about it. I've had a travel ban for 4 years, and I've gone when it was in person. Travel ban sucks. And my fourth question. A train is heading eastbound from Lincoln, Nebraska at 68 miles per hour. Simultaneously, a train leaves Chicago, Illinois, heading west at 61 miles per hour. What is the nearest town with a population of at least 5,000 people from the point at which the two trains pass each other? And this is a question I've never actually had to ask. However, the point of the question is, you know those people who get the book from like Microsoft Questions from the 90s or Google hiring questions? Why is a manhole cover round? If you had to move Mount Fuji with a spoon, how would you do it?
Carefully.
Not at all. I would say, what are you doing? Why are you such an idiot? Please don't do this. Questions that are supposed to get you to think and talk about process, and they don't actually have any bearing on the job or any reasonable tie to how people would work at your company. I think as an interviewee, you should be able to ask those questions right back. It's like, yeah, you know what? Solve that problem for me. By the way, I didn't have any access to computers or anything, so you tell me the answer, and I'm going to grade you on it. I should probably figure out what the nearest town is based on this example. So what's the cutoff for flying first class or business class when traveling for work? Time and or distance.
Or
Yeah.
seniority.
Like when would they pay for first or business? Yeah. Which is something that I know of one really good consulting company where they will only fly business class, and they make it very clear, if you hire us to do consulting for you and you want us, we'll work remotely, but if you want us there, you are paying for business class. There is no
Paul
question.
Randall used to say that.
Who's that?
Paul Randall used to say that quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's at least two companies that would do that. And I think that's absolutely reasonable. If you're a consultant and they want you in person, yeah, I'm not flying coach, especially when you're looking at situations like I got to get out there and back constantly. No, forget that. I was told at one point that the state is not responsible to help you advance in your career. You're paid to do what your job description states. That's going to depend.
I've also heard from some people I've worked with, that an amazing number of people don't understand how important training is, and they are like, I'd be happy if you just paid me that money instead of making me go to some training. Literally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, have seen that happen at many places. Uh, in the early days of past, like in 2005 and 2006, early 2000s, they used to give away submit comp codes to some user groups. If you had attendance over a certain limit and you did, a certain number of events, then you got something in return. And they used to give summit comp codes. I never used to have any takers. Nobody wanted to go.
Mm.
I mean, a conference fee worth 1,500 to 2,000.
Oh, you froze, I think.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, but Mala's point is a really good one.
You're getting for a work visa for like 7 or 8 years.
Right. Yeah, that from the standpoint of a user group leader, that has to be very annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So Radio Guy says, yeah, this was around 2011 when hearing this. The state is not responsible to help you advance in your career. If you want to push,
20,
yeah, if you want to push
I was
hard enough,
9 in 2011.
If you want to push hard enough, I can get behind the assessment. But like Andrew says, that's fine. My salary went up 25 grand. You can pay me $25,000 extra because I realized you're going to try to keep me in a dead-end job, and I'll take some of that money and I'll do the training on my own. Okay. I think there is an argument. I think it's a wrong argument. I think it's ultimately a bad argument that keeps, the mean part of me says this is how you get state employees. And, or even if it's private sector, yeah, this is why really crappy companies seem to have really crappy employees stick around for a long time because, well, you're paid to do what your job description says. So that person will come in, do exactly what the job description says, cash a check, and never learn, never grow, never get better, never do anything else. And then you wonder, why is it that you have spaghetti code everywhere? Why is it that nothing ever works? Why is it that you try to do something and, oh, it's going to take 9 weeks to spin up the server? Really? It's going to take 9 weeks, huh? Yeah, it's a real long, convoluted process. I have to click like 7 buttons. I mean, I understand.
Have to set up Samba.
I understand some George Jetson finger pushing, button pushing trauma, so may have to take a break between each button click. But that's a big part of why you get those scenarios. And so yeah, check out that. That's going to come up launching tomorrow. Blog posts, expect them on Tuesday, May 14th. So hopefully there will be a good amount of pickup for this one. And it's all about your favorite job questions. But as an interviewee, I just want to point out again, interviewees should be asking questions just as much as interviewers. And if your interviewer cannot successfully answer the questions, that's a good sign that maybe you're not in the right spot.
Good question.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go to Lincoln, Nebraska?
Well, the train is starting from Lincoln, Nebraska. So apparently it was picking up, I don't know, it could have been picking up corn.
Oh, they were leaving. Okay, that's a good question. I'm sorry if you're from Nebraska. I'm just making a joke.
Well, they were visiting the State House. But actually, I should figure out what the answer to this is. Maybe I'll do that after the stream. So that way I know somebody's going to drop a question in the comments of this blog post like, so what is the answer? I don't know.
100%.
Lincoln was a fine place until last week. I'm not sure what that means, so I'm just going to move on to the next article so that
Yeah, that sounds like a hot topic.
Oh, tornadoes. Okay. All right. I was afraid that we were going down into inappropriate for dinner conversation territory. Yeah, there were some nasty tornadoes that hit a lot of the Midwest recently. Ohio's gotten a few of them. State never understood that. It used to have good benefits in retirement to work for the state, but no longer. I've seen that. It depends on the state. I have seen some states have had significant changes as a result of basically finding out that they don't have enough money to cash all the checks that they promised. But on the question of a company not being responsible, maybe in other lines of work, but not in tech. Tech updates constantly, and you really can't do justice to your job description if you're not constantly learning. Yeah, I would also apply this to other positions. I mean, I'll put it this way. My wife is a CPA. Every year she needs to take continuing education courses in order to remain a CPA. And so that's just part of the job. Anybody who works in the accounting field has continuing education. And so as a result, that's an area where you will often see people in training. Your physician, you would hope that your physicians are keeping track of what's going on in the world. Even things like an electrician, an HVAC technician, plumbing. There are things that happen in those worlds, and you want to get somebody who understands what's happening, what's going on, what's new, even if it is staying within the realm of that field and not branching out into a different field. Your auto mechanic has to keep track of changes that happen between model years, new computer systems, new firmware, new hardware changes. And then not to mention if the person is doing ICE and electric or hybrid and electric and ICE, like those are different systems altogether. So
the world. Yeah, I totally agree. The world is changing. If you're a teacher or you're a professor, like the field changes, the research changes, like without a doubt.
Yeah, and so ultimate argument is not covering any sort of training for employees is really short-sighted, and I think ends up punishing the companies in the long run, because those employees who are learning, who are training, probably are going somewhere else because they're going to get more money, or they're going to get a place where they can train and learn, or where it's as simple as, I can get that server up in less than 9 months. And Andrew says, those AS400s will continue printing checks long after we're dead. The machines will work. They'll still have the dot matrix printers. Incidentally, I went to a rental car place that still used dot matrix printers, and I was thinking, how many ribbons do they still have? How many ribbons still are available on the market for these printers? And how much
from Bhutan.
What's that?
They come from Bhutan.
Is this a joke or is this real? Because it could be real.
That's a joke.
Okay.
I made it up.
That's fair. It could have been real. It could have been that this is one of the primary.
I'm doing
exports.
my Mitch Hedberg routine where it's very surreal.
That's perfectly reasonable. But just thinking about, wow, how do you maintain this ancient hardware? Speaking of ancient hardware, Microsoft unveils Copilot for Azure SQL Database.
What? Why are you saying ancient hardware?
I was just trying to lead into the article.
Oh, okay, because I don't think Azure SQL Database is ancient.
No, it's not. It's not. But I didn't have any other way of tying the two.
I mean, if you're talking about Airplane, the original, Copilot is old, but
that is true. Also, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar doesn't play defense.
All right, sorry, this is like comedy edition.
Just a reply I got for advancing my career. It was never my method. Hey, I stay involved with Trap House. Yeah, exactly. And definitely not castigating you, radio guy. That is a crummy situation to hear from your boss that, nope, we're not actually invested in any growth for you. You do exactly what the job description says and nothing else. I mean, at the very least, it's a sign. It's a sign that says, Maybe I should start looking for a place where I can grow and can get better.
Can I know you're gonna transition, but on this topic, I just wanted to do like 2 minutes on this
Go for it.
because I joined this group specifically in 2018 because our group at Duke is switching from Oracle to SQL Server, and 2018 was quite a while ago, and now we're actually doing it. So the other day, I did a presentation that was kind of a mashup of what I've learned from you all, and some of the things that I read, between Kendra and Itzik and uh, what's the name? All some of the kind of like row by row guy,
Jeff Moden.
Jeff Bowden. Yeah. So I did a big presentation because it's a huge deal for us, and I was nervous. I had 45 minutes. It was like kind of like introduction to SQL Server, and I wouldn't have been able to do it at all without all your help. And it was 150 people came. This is an internal meeting, like. So everybody is very invested in, like, we have hundreds and thousands of reports, SQL that needs to be transitioned. And so I talked about, the basics from top to, using date part and other stuff that would be useful in our transition. And it was very well received anyway. So I'm just grateful that, like, this is free. And I actually went to Jeff Moden's thing. I was looking at it earlier today because I mentioned it to somebody who was working on like doing join, like case statement joins. And I was like, whoa, like I've only really done a case expressions and like, order by clauses. And so I forwarded that to him and I was like, oh, there's like 4,000 views on Jeff Moden's thing on TriPass. I was like, wow. Right. And that was like 2 or 3 years ago. So anyway, just very grateful for this community, and like, this is unpaid and there's a ton of amazing content that I try to brag about. So that was my tangent of like continuing education. Joining this group has been huge for me, and I hope people continue to join because it's been invaluable, and everybody asked me about it too. So I think we're going to see a lot more people join.
Excellent. We need to clip that and make it promotional material.
Yes.
Very briefly, don't worry about Bhutan's domestic output. It's still going strong. So apparently you can buy all kinds of dot matrix printers from Amazon. You've got everything from like the $200 model up to the $1,000 model. So if you need a dot matrix printer, I'll bet you there are probably even influencers who are doing the hottest new dot matrix printers in the year 2024.
I do feel fortunate because I live near this place called Scrap Exchange in Durham, and they have like super high end paper, like like that you print your resume on ivory paper, and they just bundle it up for like $1 because people turn it in for recycling.
Yeah, it happens. So Mala had to drop off in order to make sure that she graduates. So we're gonna wrap up Shop Talk without her. We've got another 27 minutes of this. I'll try to say that again, but this time sound enthusiastic. All right. Microsoft unveils a Copilot for Azure SQL Database. And what this is a private preview of Copilot in Azure SQL DB. They announced a preview actually over a month ago at this point. When was the article? The article was on March 27th. So Mala sent this to talk about tonight, and it's still in private preview and covers a few things. It's finding responses using public documentation, database schema, and the like. So the idea would be, hey, given my schema, write me a query that does whatever, or generate some T-SQL code that helps me figure out which real estate agent has more than 2 properties listed for sale. Show me a pivot summary table that displays the number of properties sold in each year from 2020 to 2023. I mean, it won't actually give you the correct answer, but at least it's a query. And I got to pull up Mala's mention in here because I thought it was funny. So I'm looking over here. Okay. So because she's not here, I'm gonna quote it for her. I want to ask it, quote, I have triggers from tables that use nested views to populate other tables to call stored procedures. Please write code that simulates this. And my response was, pray for Mojo. I read that and hurt me inside. So Anders says it is actually scarily good. So you've had a good experience with it so far, Anders?
Specifically for Azure SQL or for Copilot in general?
Yeah. But probably for my question. CTO and I tested it out. Okay. We'll see. We'll see what our man in the field has to say. Why companies are leaving the cloud? Because it's so expensive. Meet Zig, the modern alternative to C. I mean, as long as
I actually was like getting ADD and looking at that because I've been learning C.
yeah,
Never heard of it.
I've never heard of Zig. No, I mean, if you told me that Rust is the modern alternative to C, I would say, yeah, probably.
Yeah. I've heard of Zig Ziglar. I mean, he's passed on, but
Yeah. I he seemed like a friendly enough guy that I could see him as an alternative to C. So it came with some answers on how to write queries that I would not have, and it was correct. Well, that's good. I would hope that for something that is pretty narrowly tailored, that the language model would do a better job than something that is really broad, really wide. Oh, speaking of models and things of interest, I gotta point out that Stable Diffusion 3 is actually currently available. Now this is no, this is the wrong thing. Here it is. Stable Diffusion 3. I'm still waiting for this to become available, as in you can download a model, because that's the whole point of Stable Diffusion is I don't want to run it as an API. I want to have it on my machine where I can run it myself and not have some system tell me that no, you can't write ask for an image that looks like Pixar because we created a bunch of memes that were funny, but Disney got mad at us.
You got to have a Threadripper or something crazy.
Well, you got to have a nice GPU. You have to have a good NVIDIA GPU. And so Stable Diffusion 3, this is from the 22nd of February. There is a newer news. Here we go. Because I think it was April 17th or so. April 23rd. There we go. Stable Diffusion 3 API is now available. So this is available in API form. It is not currently available in model downloads. You can't get it from Hugging Face. You can't get it from Civitai or wherever. You can only currently access it through the API, and the API costs money. But SD3 and SD3 Turbo are currently available in the API platform. I've signed up for it. I haven't actually used it yet, but I will give it a try because I like Stable Diffusion 3 mostly because there's a community around it, and like I said, because you can run it yourself and not be at the whims of whichever API holder is telling you what you may and may not tell it to generate.
So can I read that? Awesome artwork of a wizard on the top of a mountain. He's creating the big text Stable Diffusion 3 API with magic text at dawn sunrise.
Good eyes. I was going to zoom in
good.
to let you see it. But yeah, that's actually part of the image. So that's their photo. So this is the image they created. This is the prompt that generated it. One of the big things with Stable Diffusion is typically you will have the base model and then you'll have LoRa's. The base model of Stable Diffusion, then you tend to have safe tensors files that are replacement models, where they'll start on with base, but then build on top of it to add in some other feature. So you may have one that's really good at generating realistic photographs. You may have one that's really good at generating landscapes. You may have one that's generating cyberpunk ethos. And so you have these trained models, and you also have LoRa's, which sit on top of a trained model and provide a small tweak. Like, I want something that makes an image look like it came out of a PlayStation 1. So you'd have a model that perhaps is more cartoony, and then you have your PlayStation 1 LoRa, which make things look blocky and hexagonal.
I saw like Kodak 400 or something like that recently.
Sure. Make it look like it came out of a 35 millimeter camera.
Right.
Make it look like it came from 8 millimeter film. Make it look like it came from cyberpunk dystopia style. And so you get some nice effort from the community. None of that's available yet because right now we just have the model through the API. We don't have the model files or weights. I am hopeful that we will get those. We got it for SD1. We got it for SD2, for the awful SD 1.5 as well. So we did get it historically. Hopefully we get it for SD2. And part of why I say that, hopefully, is because when you go on in here and you start working with the API, actually I want to see if I can figure out where I'll find the pricing for this. Because their pricing model is, here we go. Let me zoom this in a little bit. So you get 25 credits for free. You get 1,000 credits for $10. So every credit is 1 penny. You want one SD3 image, that's 6.5 cents. Turbo image, 4 cents. Core, 3 cents. SDXL, which is okay, but you could just download it yourself. 0.2 to 0.6 cents per image. I used AI to create Heavy Metal DBA song. I'm gonna show this. I double checked it just to make sure, but it was Anders. I trust Anders. I just had to double check it for quality. So,
Sigmar.
This is aggressive heavy metal thrash. It's safe enough that I didn't get banned on Facebook. Well, okay, so this is apparently too tame. We need something slightly more edgy. So there you go. I'm not going to play it, but, you got...
So are we saying that somebody listened to Schrodinger's cat 119,000 times?
Maybe so.
Good gosh.
It sings it. So yeah, if you wanna listen to the song that Anders had a machine create, if you want to understand why the machines will eventually take over, it's because we keep having them do that, and also half the images that Stable Diffusion creates.
My code is brutal. It's a deadly fight. I optimized tables. I index and read. Whoa, this is 3 shop talks at least.
So, we've got that going for us. So now there's a theme song. Maybe I'll play the song and then use it in the shop talk intro, and then I'll get copyright claimed. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna leave that open. I will actually listen to this afterwards, but I'm not gonna listen to it.
Me too. Yeah, it's gonna get 2060. It'll be 26 by later tonight.
Anders owns the copyright, which means he's gonna crack down on us hard. As soon as we say no to cursors. By the way, I have to point this out.
EU law. What's that?
I have to point this out because I mentioned cursors. So Hugo Cornelis is continuing the Plansplaining series and is actually starting on digging into cursors. So I figured Anders would like that. Um,
He's impressive. Absolutely.
yeah, Hugo is great. Hugo, I'm glad that Hugo is doing much better now.
Yeah, I know he was sick. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's awesome.
battle royale time. So, uh,
Oh,
Anders,
wait, we're gonna do an Anders like Drake versus Mike situation. Is that what's going on?
no, because I mean, it just this highlighted sentence right here that there are many reasons to use a cursor. Um, so
Oh, good. So it's Anders versus.
I
Yeah.
guess it would be like Anders
I
and
mean,
Hugo versus the world. But essentially, it's getting into here's the syntax for cursors and some of the capabilities. So Hugo's not as one sided on this as many. Yeah, yeah. Eric Darling is also surprisingly okay with cursors in the right situation. I know he's written a fair amount about how to optimize cursors.
and his YouTube channel is awesome, like yours is. Or, and yours is also
Eric?
shared with TriCast. But
Yeah,
Eric has been like putting in the time. Like I've been watching that.
yeah. Uh, so I don't know if I'm gonna have to double check if ShopHawk ended up crashing or not, because I just got a message from OBS Studio that we were disconnected. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I hear you. I mean, but that's probably that's probably whereby. Uh,
all right, no, we're still here. We're alive, people. We are alive. Yes, something happened. Okay, so I do see Solomon in chat, but don't see here in OBS. So yeah, OBS went a little bonkers. That's okay. We're gonna deal. I'm gonna spotlight this. We're gonna talk about cursors. So update and / backward, right? I hope you're not doing backwards cursors.
never
Forward only.
even seen this.
Forward only is okay. Now, static, key set, dynamic, fast forward. I have no idea. Just start clicking stuff and figure out what works. I have once. Once. That's just enough, I guess. Um, but yeah. So check out this article. I'll drop the link to it in chat. It was also in Curated SQL today. It looks like I have to actually log in because I'm not going to mess with OBS Studio right now. Oh, hey, I can still post. Okay. I'm not going to mess with OBS Studio. I'll restart it after the stream because this is a very professional broadcast. It's what we do. We are professionals here. All right. Last article for tonight, and then maybe we'll have a discussion or two. So this also comes from Mala, dated May 4th, 2024. And basically it's Stanford researchers introducing, tell me that's not how I would pronounce it. Mike, how would you pronounce this?
Sukal?
I'm definitely pronouncing it suckle.
Suckle? I mean, yeah, you can't say that. It's too human, health related.
It's too get us kicked off of the internet related.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a Twitch.
Oh, suck L. That's somehow even worse, Anders.
All right, I like Anders' sense of humor, even though he's from Europe.
Anders is American. He is as American as
I know that.
as apple pie, John Deere tractors, the Pope,
Fish and Bergen.
So, formal query language for integrating structured and unstructured data. And I was going through this and saying, okay, biscuits and gravy, tea time, sweet tea, unsweetened tea, both types of tea.
He's eaten herring his whole life. He's lying.
So, looking at this article, I'm not gonna cast too much shade at the authors, but I'm gonna point out that they have the idea of we've got some structured data, we've got some unstructured data, and then how are we going to query all of that data, both structured and unstructured, in both formats? And then they say, oh, well, we'll have a system that will work with both structured and unstructured data, where unstructured data is in free text format, and then we'll do some stuff around that free text. And it'll have NLP operators like summary and answer, such that this is a very small. Let me see if I can get this image to show up a little bit bigger. There we go. So you have your vector database, and it's looking for cosine similarities of items, and it ends up giving you a wrong answer versus their suckling of an answer, which means that databases that implement this would be sucklings.
The marketing would be amazing.
I mean,
You have
researchers
to
at
get the
Stanford
best marketer on the planet.
Yeah, researchers at Stanford need to understand how acronyms work a little bit better.
Yeah, it's good.
So,
Ogilvy.
select star summary reviews from restaurants where Italian equals any cuisines, and answer reviews, is this restaurant romantic, equals yes, limit 1. It's kind of SQL like. It's also got some fanciness, I suppose.
How would you
could
even
say.
learn that? It's not easier.
Correct. And also, well, I think that they're trying to push the language and trying to say, oh, well, this is so much better because we have much better results, and we can show, look, our numbers are bigger and their numbers are not bigger. And yeah, you got some numbers here. Yazdi, yet another SQL dialect. I like that. Wait. No, actually, suckle for few shot is not better. Look at this. Look, I need to, excuse me, I need to use zoom it. I need to use zoom it so that I can point out that this
Well,
is...
I downloaded that recently per your suggestion. I've been using it a lot.
It's a good idea. Zoom it's a great product.
DAG and Mixka are better. If higher is better.
Whichever.
Shikwa.
Yeah. Shikwa, which sounds like a He-Man character. But, you know, just looking at this, several things that are related to Bert. So several Bert examples are better off than Suckle. HP Pro, which honestly sounds like a really crappy laptop.
You shouldn't be good at this stuff, and it'd be funny too.
By She et al., which, if I were more Southern, because I'm not Southern, I'm Midwestern, but if I were Southern,
Ohio,
I would definitely not want to try to pronounce this one. Let your inner fifth grader out. Exactly. I would.
What row?
What's that, Mike?
Which row?
Well, just the fact that it's not just she, but also the others around she.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But like, it looks like mate and south of mate are better or equal.
Yeah. So yeah, they're coming in saying, hey, we got this really cool language that's way awesome, and in their demonstration, we're looking at this and saying, well, even Mugger is still pretty close. So yeah, moral of the story in here. Make sure you read the papers, because the highlight, the abstract of the paper, the highlight there may not necessarily be indicative of whether or not that their results are any good. Like,
I'm so glad you said that because my wife has been going to school. She's getting her PhD and kind of, mid-late career change. And I was just listening out of curiosity to a podcast that is like kind of humor. It's like based on medical stuff,
okay,
but the spouse is a doctor and the other spouse is a joker, kind of like, I try to be. And they talk about reading studies, and the insight was really valuable because it was kind of she's a primary care doctor and a hospitalist, and so when she's reading studies about biochemistry, you would say, I don't know everything about that, but this is a study about nutrition, and I could say like this journal is sponsored by a corporation, like it was really good. So I'll send it to you if we want to put it in the notes, because for me as undergrad degree and working with a lot of academics here, I don't it was useful to me because there's hundreds of thousands of studies written every year and they're not all the same quality. And it's not to say they're wrong, it's to say like you need to be aware that they have bias, or they might be sponsored by a corporation, or they might be pay to play, right? Where you actually pay to publish your articles. So take it with what you will. It doesn't say it's wrong. It's just saying, hey, this person paid to publish this. They didn't compete against anybody. Oh, is this Shikwa?
this is Suckle. Sadly, Suckle cannot help me in what I need in life. Um,
2 leagues.
so let's see.
Tapas.
What the heck? I mean, I know it's Southern California. Isn't there a single place without annoying people? Okay.
0% chance that's not true. Because there's Santa Barbara. Everybody's nice there. I'm making a joke because I have no idea what Santa Barbara's like.
Apparently, so good news, everybody. If you live in Southern California, apparently you can't go to a restaurant that doesn't have annoying people.
Paula Poundstone would agree with you.
But if you want to abuse this bot yourself, I've dropped a link to it in chat. Also, if you would like to learn more about suckling, there is the
Kevin knew too much.
there is the repo. One of the authors of the paper is going to listen to this and get very angry at me and possibly write a nasty message, and then I will ask that person, can you find me a place that doesn't have any annoying people around? And maybe I'll get an answer.
I likely be impossible.
Must have it confused with New York City.
Hey. They're sophisticated, Anders.
But nonetheless, if you do want to try that out, code is here. The paper I've also dropped a link to, so I'll drop a link to the code itself. And there we are. I dare say we have just about wrapped things up for this evening. So we have successfully entertained Mike for 1 hour.
Thank you.
So my court-appointed duties are no longer mandated, and as a result, we're going to wrap things up for tonight. So, quick reminder: we have a whole new slew of TriPass meetings this month. We have coming up on the 14th. Shabnam Watson is going to talk to us about Microsoft Fabric and specifically getting started with the warehouse experience in Microsoft Fabric. On May 21st, Aaron Cutshaw will talk to us about the power of window functions. That will be in person at Tech Systems in Raleigh, 6 p.m. New start time 6 p.m., not 6:30 p.m. Reason being that Tech Systems needs us out of the building by 8 p.m., so we're getting started half an hour earlier so that we can get all the stragglers out by 8.
I think what you mean is unbound proceeding.
Yes, exactly. Well, yes, certainly not unbounded following. And then John Fuga is going to talk to us about how to write data back to a data warehouse in Fabric from Power BI. That will be our May 28th talk. So 3 meetings, good sessions coming up. Come check them out. If you're in the area, do come to the in-person 3rd Tuesday of the month meeting. We would be glad to see you there. And until we do see each other in a future meeting, future episode of Shop Talk, or in a prison cell because I got arrested for saying suckle out in public too much, or in Richmond with SQL Saturday Richmond.
week.
Thank you, Anders. That's May 18th. That's coming up soon. You'll see Anders. You'll see me. You'll probably see some other people as well. So come on up, 2.5-hour drive from the Raleigh-Durham area. Come check us out there. But until we do see each other in a future Shop Talk episode, everybody take care.